Christianity is morally superior and much better for society than being secular. And why? It can't be because Christianity is rife with bigotry and dumb ideas, but because that's what this one guy believes is right. The rest of us are immoral that use profanity, and that makes us bad for the population. Stick around for this one as we discover just why atheists are so immoral and why we're so bad for society. Hello, I'm the Skeptic, the British floating circle that watches people make extraordinary claims and then I explain why I don't accept what they're saying. I really appreciate being sent videos by you, and this time an absolute doozy hit my inbox. Jonro is a guy that called into an atheist call-in show and then complained he wasn't allowed to talk the way he wanted, or that he didn't like the answers or something, and purposefully tried to trap the hosts with dumb questions. Okay, well, he didn't say dumb questions, but that's what it sounded like. He now thinks that his religion is the most moral because homosexuality is wrong, and so is cussing. Let's get into that, shall we? Although, before discovering why secular humanism is immoral, if this isn't your first Skeptic video, hit the like, the subscribe and the bell, and maybe the algorithm will become more superior for us all. And a super thanks to those that hit super thanks in some recent videos. Kevin, Mikael Lundgren and Poison. And a big thank you to channel members who get access to Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe and more hen emojis. Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe bestows leaves upon you all. More hen. I've always wanted to know why I'm so immoral, so now's as good a time as any to find out why.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to my video today. Today I'm going to be talking about Christianity being morally superior than secular humanism, or kind of theism is more superior than atheism, but more particularly, I guess, Christianity versus secular humanism. So I called this call-in, there's an atheist call-in show where they want theists or, believers in God to call and give evidence for God. And they have this call-in show that they do. So I called them yesterday, and I've just made a video of kind of how that went.
And given that this was uploaded on March 10th, 2025, a Monday, yesterday should be Sunday, unless he recorded it at a different time. But the big ones on a Sunday are Atheist Experience and The Line, two that I would definitely like to be on at some point. But I know they're usually pretty good at having conversations.
But I had another idea for calling the show, and it's not really going to do any good. I may call them, but see, the thing about these shows is they don't let you ask questions. And this is what it comes down to. So I'm going to tell you how this would have played out and the idea that I had. And I'm going to show them that Christianity is morally superior than secular humanism is.
How the call should have gone. So you're going to be talking to yourself. I guess as a Christian you're used to that since you all pray. That's about the same as talking to yourself and thinking you know the answer.
So I would have asked them a question. Is profanity immoral? And like I said, they don't want to answer questions on there. They would have dodged the question. They know that I was trying to lay a trap. They don't want to have a burden of proof. They don't want to lay any pieces on the table that you could use to trap them or to use against their position.
They don't want to answer about profanity. Is it immoral? That's a really dumb question. In our house, we teach our kids that they can know the words, but they have to know when it's appropriate to use them. Words are words. We give them meaning. Maybe if you're a believer in a God who thinks that swearing's bad and coy, then you may think it's immoral, but I don't even think mentioning morality with swearing is relevant.
So they don't like answering questions like that. They start changing the topic. They avoid, they evade the questions. And that's their strategy. They use manipulation to control the conversation. They stay in the driver's seat and they put all the burden on you and they try to exploit your weaknesses, but they don't want you to, they don't want, see, sometimes, like when you have a discussion, it's a back and forth. It's not like you just get to question me and I don't get to ask you questions. Hey, this is a back and forth. And so what they try to use two brains against your one brain, and they work together as a team.
I don't know. I feel like two brains versus one brain in this scenario is a bit of a stretch. But of course, they drive the conversation. They're hosts. If you want to drive the conversation, host a show. These shows are about proving gods, and usually trying to trap the hosts is very transparent, and they may have seen right through you.
They control the conversation, and they don't want to answer any of your questions. So is profanity immoral? I think most people, honest people, would say, yeah, profanity, we know intuitively that profanity is immoral and that we shouldn't do it.
How is it immoral? Saying F you? I think swearing is awesome, you dopey If anything, it's been proven to be good for stress relief and even makes you stronger, apparently.
We wouldn't want our kids to use profanity. So if you say that profanity is not immoral, then is it okay if kids use profanity?
Yes, if it's taught when it's socially acceptable to do so.
An honest person will say that it's immoral to use profanity. All right, my second question is it immoral to murder a human being no matter what size they are?
Jonro wants to kill some giants? Huh.
Because science has shown that at conception, that is a human being. That has everything in it that constitutes that as a human being.
I think it says when human life starts. It doesn't say that it's a human being. And even if it did, why are you suddenly okay with what science says when the Bible, your book of supposed morality, says that life begins with the first breath?
It's just less developed. And they would evade that question. They would know the point I'm trying to make.
I guess that you're trying to say that abortion's bad, okay? But a clump of cells in a body owned by someone else that they don't want to be there, that's up to them. And the majority of abortions happen before 13 weeks, when the fetus would have absolutely zero chance of surviving. And in most cases, doesn't even have the beginning of bones yet. It's just a lump of stuff with a top and a bottom. Yeah, it would really suck if someone had to have an abortion in the third trimester. But less than 1% of abortions happen then, and of those 1%, the overwhelming majority are because of medical emergency. And it's none of your business anyway.
Question number 3. Is homosexuality immoral? An honest person, they would get all offended and they would start saying that, I hate gays or whatever they call, I can't remember the term or whatever, but homophobic.
You didn't know the word despite probably being called it enough. I see the caliber of person we're dealing with here, but no, it's not. Although, let's hear what you have to say.
They would say that I'm homophobic, and they would evade the question because they know what I'm getting at, because we all intuitively know that homosexuality is wrong.
Incorrect. It's just not right for you. But that's okay. You don't have to be gay if you're not already gay. Unless you are gay and you don't want to be for some silly reason, and you're just projecting hard, really hard, for another guy.
It's immoral. And they say, the secular humanism, they say it's all about human flourishing. But then they support homosexuality, which goes against human flourishing. Because if everyone were homosexuals, we would no longer reproduce, and the human population would go extinct.
No, it wouldn't. You can be a gay man and still reproduce with a woman, you dumbass. You can be straight and not want to have kids. So that's a stupid argument. Maybe that cap is on too tight or something, and it's affecting your thinking.
And then they say that they use science and logic. They use science and logic, and we don't, but they say men can be women, and men can have periods, and men can have babies. And a woman is whatever you define it to be, basically.
Her, but whatever.
But they use science and logic. My fourth question would be, when we have discussions with people with different views, should we always be courteous and respectful to that person when we're having a conversation with them?
I think that depends on the person. If that person is being a homophobic dumbnut, then probably not.
And they would know what I'm getting at. They would evade all of those questions. They want us to answer their questions yes or no. But if we were to ask them questions yes or no, it would start to take down that barrier, that armor that they got on. Because they don't have any bullets flying at them. They're the ones that's shooting all the bullets.
It really sounds like you're just a little bit upset that the folks you're talking to have good reasons to not accept a God.
But when you start shooting bullets at them, oh, no. They start using tactics and and things to try to evade and get it back on you.
If they were your bullets that I think I did an okay job at answering, I'd get a new Nerf gun, my man. Those were soft.
It seems like that a lot of their, to be fair, that they know their stuff. They've been studying this stuff for a long time. They've had a lot of debates. Most of the callers are just average people that does not study this stuff. So right off the bat, in just a fair one-on-one formal debate, these atheist guys would beat most of the callers because they study this stuff obsessively.
You don't have to study much to say, that doesn't convince me.
And most people don't. And they are intelligent. But there's also Christians that are equally intelligent. And see, in formal debates, they can't do this kind of tactics and all that they do on the show.
So now you don't like the format of something? Well, then set up a debate. It's not difficult.
But anyway, let me get back to my point of showing that Christianity is morally superior. So, if profanity is immoral,
says you, not me,
then why did they use profanity on their show constantly?
That only offends you in this scenario, my man.
Is it, if it's immoral to kill a human being, no matter what size, why do the atheists or the secular humanists most of them support abortion?
Because it may be the point at which human life starts, but until a fetus can support itself, it's up to the mother on whether she's okay with it using her body to support it. That's not the same as ending a human life.
When science, see, they go by science, they say. Well, science has shown that it's a human being. But they want to play semantics games and call it a fetus and just give it a different name in the same way like that they want to say that a man could be a woman. Oh, let's just change the name, what the word means.
Gender identity and classification of embryos and fetuses are not the same. And it's also science that defines the stages of human development, you silly banana.
When you say, is homosexuality immoral, then, and they say yes, if any of them would be honest enough to say that.
You say honest, I say stupid.
Then you would say, then why do most secular humanists support LGBTQ and not most, but Christianity condemns homosexuality as wrong and immoral?
Now we're getting somewhere. Your book says it's immoral. Got it. But if you thought for yourself, what would you conclude, buddy boy?
And, the part about us having being courteous and respectful in conversations, an honest person would say yes. And so then you can ask them, well, why is it that the theist callers that call are always respectful and courteous, but it's always y'all atheists that are rude and disrespectful to them?
Having been on a few shows, I can quite honestly say that 90% of the time it's respectful both ways. But man, I've heard some crappy theist calls too. So quit with the feeling attacked and get on with it. The God's got more atheists to make.
Let's see. Right off the bat, Christianity is already looking better than secular humanism. Our worldview and the way we carry ourselves is already looking better than the way they carry themselves and their view.
By being a homophobic, transphobic, anti-women's rights, swear word listening crybaby. What an amazing worldview. Please sign me up.
And I would argue that the atheists prove the concept that's in the Bible. The concept of the flesh and the spirit. It's in Galatians 5, starting in verse 16, and I'm going to read it real quick out of the New Living Translation because that translation, it simplifies the words where you can understand them a little better.
Oh, do you need things simplified a little better? That's okay, buddy. Do you also need a sippy cup too? Sorry. Keep ad hominem to a minimum, skeptic. But go on, read your verse.
There's some of those words that's most of us has never heard before or really knows what it means. But anyway, so it says in verse 16, so I say, let the Holy Spirit guide your lives, then you won't be doing what your sinful nature craves. The sinful nature wants to do evil, which is just the opposite of what the Spirit wants. And the Spirit gives us desires that are the opposite of what the sinful nature desires. These two forces are constantly fighting each other, so you are not free to carry out your good intentions. When you follow the desires of your sinful nature, the results are very clear. And this is talking about the flesh, is what the Bible calls the flesh, which is this sinful nature.
Oh, it was lovely that you read all that out, but I'm sorry to say, matey, when it comes to the Bible...
No one cares!
This idea that we have a sinful nature within us and a spirit within us, and it's kind of like a battle between the two. So these are these are the desires of your sinful nature.
Poor guy. Control-Alt-Delete that, brother. A restart may be required.
Sexual immorality, impurity, lustful pleasures, idolatry, sorcery, hostility, quarreling, jealousy, outbursts of anger. Some translations say fits of rage. Selfish ambition, dissension, division, envy, drunkenness, wild parties, and other sins like these. Let me tell you again, as I have before, that anyone living that sort of life will not inherit the kingdom of God. But the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
No wonder people don't read it. It's so dull.
There is no law against these things. Those who belong to Jesus Christ have nailed the passions and desires of their sinful nature to the cross and crucified them there.
So, no desires, but you desire to have your questions answered in a debate and not have an atheist call-in show dismiss what you have to say. Sounds like you need to nail that to a cross and move on, my man.
Since we are living by the Spirit, let us follow the Spirit's leading in every part of our lives. Okay, so let's go over the... I always want to say fruits of the flesh, but it's not the deeds of the flesh. So let's go over the deeds of the flesh. So sexual immorality, that is a sign that you're in your flesh.
Isn't it a sign that your flesh is getting more fleshy?
Sexual immorality. Homosexuality and fornication are examples of sexual morality.
Make your bloody mind up, mate.
Sexual immorality. Homosexuals. So homosexuality is immoral if anyone's honest. Fornication is wrong if you're really honest.
To who? Do you never test drive a car before you buy it? You might not feel comfortable in the driver's seat. And if a God, who is a virgin because there's only one God, right, tells you not to have sex before marriage, that's only because it's jealous and can't put its member in anything.
So... And fornication spreads diseases. When you go out and sleep with a bunch of people and then that person sleeps with a bunch of people, that doesn't cause society to flourish.
What do you think happens when you have sex? As long as it's done safely, things don't get spread. Says more about you than other folks, Jonro.
That's not good for the flourishment of society. But sexual immorality. Who supports homosexuality and fornication more? Secular humanists do. Christians are against that completely.
Oh, so you say immoral, the rest of us maybe just say boring. There you go then. Don't be a Christian, it's boring. Oh, sorry for that profanity.
Let's look at lustful pleasures. Like pornography. There's studies on pornography, and I didn't actually pull any up, but you can look.
Oh, he pulled some up. You know he pulled some up. But when he was caught, he claimed it was research for a video.
There's ectoplasm!
Pornography negatively affects people.
Alcohol negatively affects people too, when they're taught that it's a negative thing. Thank goodness I grew up in a land that taught moderation. Something folks in the good old USA seem to only do in tiny little pockets. Screw that, watch and have a drink. Mine's a gin. Give this fella a whiskey.
It becomes an addiction. It messes, it like corrupts people's mind. It affects people in a negative way. Lustful pleasures. Also, besides pornography, you got adultery and fornication. So you can be lustful at other people that are married or you're married, and you can be lustful at that person and you can have sex with them. And you can destroy your entire family because of that choice you've made.
He said that before. Is this a memory or what?
Because of lusting after them. And you can destroy their family. Somebody might shoot you and kill you because of that. That's not good for the flourishing of society.
What kind of messed up world does this guy live in? Oh, Never mind, we all know that answer.
Again, fornication. So who supports those kinds of pornography and adultery and fornication more? Secular humanism. I'm not saying that secular humanism necessarily advocates for these things, but they're more tolerant of them.
Oh no, being tolerant of stuff. What terrible people. Listen to what you're saying.
Christianity plain out forbids them.
And that's why there's so much of a problem, because if you're not allowed to do it, then you become sneaky and hide it, and that addiction grows. It's really simple, my man.
Forbids them. Anything that forbids something negative is better and superior than something that tolerates it, and that some people even consider those things not to be immoral. And it's not as good for the flourishing of our society.
What are you even on about? Banning things just breeds sneaky living, and then it becomes an issue because you want better than you had before to get that rush. If things weren't looked down upon, there'd probably be much less of an issue.
Which is what they hold to as secular humanism. So probably all of these things are bad for the flourishing of society. Let's look at hostility and outbursts of anger. This is what the atheists call, the atheist people that answer the phone there, the interlocutors, this is what they do. Hostility and outbursts of anger or fits of rage. Matt Dillahunty is the worst one, one of the ones that I talked to yesterday.
Oh, the line. Now I need to see it.
Can we carry on with the conversation, please?
No, John, I want you to answer my question about why I had to ask you this question so many times to get you to spew out a yes or no answer. Why did that take so long? Why is this so difficult?
Oh, is that why? A simple question that Matt asked and you avoided it, and now you're the one whining? Okay, I think I see why you didn't get much of a conversation there.
Why can't you have an intelligent conversation with someone that has a different view and you both be kind and respectful to one another? All these atheists act so smug. They act like you're the enemy. They start off answering the call, being real nice to you, and then it progressively gets worse. They get more smug. Some of them are worse than others. The hostility and outbursts of anger, that is immoral. That is unacceptable in our society.
No, it's neither of those things. It seems like a whole lot of you being offended because you didn't get your way, which has nothing to do with morality or proving a god. Poor fella. This is only half of his video, and I may look at the other half another time, but it just seems like his atheists being immoral is more to do with him being butthurt that folks don't believe his god has some stupid rules, and that being secular makes you, maybe, more accepting of things. Oh no, whatever shall we do? But maybe John here did have a good case for secular humanists being immoral, and I missed it. If you saw it, let me know in the section below. I'm going to skeptic this as just another theist having their feelings hurt for silly reasons. A big thank you to this month's top level ticks on Patreon: Dark Ether Piao, Tamo, The Barely Bearable Atheist, George, Godless Granny, Addy Rockhart, The Enixes, Jakari, Elizabeth, Whiskey Tech Fred, Rick, and Stylistic Matthew, as well as all the $3 base ticks and new channel members. You can become a supporter on Patreon too at patreon.com/theskeptic. The link is in the description, along with links to all my other socials. Or become a member by hitting the join button below this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. From me, the Skeptic, stay safe, keep thinking logically, and ask questions. Skepticism is the first step towards truth. See you next Saturday.